everybody, this is Dave here at Pulp Alley, and today I am working on these skeletons. This classic fantasy skeleton warriors by Wargames Atlantic. Very cool, very cool. There are some things about it that I don't know. I think could have been done better, but I guess that's really true about just about everything. I don't want to nitpick, right? But uh, I'll show you what I'm talking about, and I'll show you what I have put together so far, and let me know what you guys think out there too. Pretty cool. Here's one just kind of walking all kind of weird looking there, and here's one that has the his arm kind of in front there to hold the shield. Pretty cool there. And then I have what is this? A fellow with a sword there. Yeah, you like that one? And then there's archers as well. So there's a skeleton archer. Check that out. Check that out. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. I think I'm going to be happy with them when I get them all together and get them all painted up and get them on the table and playing with them. But putting them together has been, some folks say, fiddly. Awkward, kind of frustrating a little bit. So I want to share some of those ideas with you. And so let's talk about some of the good stuff, and then I'll talk about some of the things that I'm not really happy with on them. So if you look at these, I think the sculpting is really good. I think whoever made these had a good sense of a cool looking characters. I think they have a fairly dynamic kind of pose to them, where their shoulders and their hips are kind of tilted in opposite directions, like any good comic book artist would do. So that's kind of keeps them in cool dynamic poses. So that's pretty cool. I am happy with that. I think the plastic's pretty good quality. I think the scale is pretty good. I think um, these will go with, I think, a lot of fantasy kind of 28 millimeter stuff. They have mortal gods on the box, and I'm not really familiar with the figures for mortal gods, but I assume that they fit with those. I think they fit really well with most of, like, what would we would call them, the heroic 28 millimeter, just a little bit on the big side. Somebody said they had big heads, but that's kind of part of miniatures, isn't it? I think they're a good price point. I think for the number of figures that you get in this, it is you have 32 miniatures. I think that's pretty cool for the price that you get them at. Now, I guess I should let you guys know that we don't get these from Wargames Atlantic, or we don't get them for free or anything like that. Like, this is stuff that we buy out of our own pockets, so we're not obligated to give a glowing review, right? So let's talk about some of the things that I guess I'm not going to say that it's nitpicking, but I guess if you're looking at getting this box, then maybe it's some of the things that you'll want to be aware of. I guess I'll say that. So you do have enough figures to make 32 models, and I haven't got them all together. They are all identical sprues, so you have one sprue, and it has enough figures on there to do, or enough pieces on there to put together 4 models off of each sprue. So uh, 3 of the models have the torsos and legs already together on there. And then one of the models you're going to have to put the legs on. It has a torso here and a pelvis, and then you have to snip the legs off. There's one leg there, and then there's another leg, somewhere on there somewhere, and then you glue the legs on. All of them have the arms missing, so you have to glue the arms on. That's part of it. And of course, the heads come separate too. So a nice collection of heads down here. Nice group of 3 heads here, a 4th head over here with the mouth open, and then you have this helmeted head right here. Very cool one. Very cool head. I guess the fiddly part for me is really the fact that there's not a good specific spot for gluing the arms on and for gluing the legs on to that extra torso. So here's one of the torsos, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's just the slightest little divot there. And it's really not enough to glue to. It's really not enough to catch a point to. And I don't know what kind of glue they expect you to use, but of course I use my old Testors, plastic cement that I've used for models forever. And of course it takes a little bit of time to set up. So I don't know if they think you're going to use super glue or what, but without there being a good spot there, let me see if I can get it in the light properly. There's a smallest little divot, and it's just not enough, right? There should be a hole there so that you can attach the arm to it, at least some sort of little divot, a little bit better. And I'm going to show you what I mean, because this is what I had to do to all my models to get them to put together. So bear with me while I drill out the arm just a little bit. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see what I got here. But now, let's take a look here. So there I've drilled out a socket, and that's what should have been done. That's what should have been done by the model maker. The problem was the angles, and I understand why they didn't, but it's unfortunate that they didn't plan it just a little bit better. Part of it is that because of the angles and everything, they just really couldn't. They really couldn't get that socket because plastic models, you guys know this probably. Plastic models are very, you know, everything has to kind of be in that direction. You can't have things that undercut and go inside and things like that. So that you're limited as far as that sort of thing. If you had a hole, it would have to be positioned where it would actually work. So let me show you how another company did it so you guys can kind of see what I mean. So this is a skeleton arm from a different company, and you see how pronounced that hole is. That is easy to see. It's an easy spot to attach to, but the hole is on the arm and the socket is on the chest. So those points there would be where that arm would glue on. What happens is that you've got this, what is basically a very small divot, and you've got this ball joint for the shoulder, right? And what you're trying to do basically is glue that shoulder to that little tiny divot, and there's very little point of contact. The point of contact is just minimal. So there's hardly anything to kind of bind those two things together. That's why you almost have to drill that out so you can get a hole there, so you can get that shoulder actually in there a little bit where it will bind to the torso and actually have a spot where it can sit in. If you don't do it like that, then you basically just have a small little contact weld, and you're just waiting for that arm to pop off because there's hardly any point of contact there. And it's the exact same thing when you get to the torso that doesn't have the legs on it. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to snip it off. Maybe that'll make it a little bit easier to show to you. I'll use these. Again, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't hardly do this. I don't know that it's such a big deal, but for me, it just adds to the time of putting it together. Like, that hole should have already been there. There should be a hole there for that leg joint, for that shoulder joint to just fit in there so you have a nice secure spot there for that glue to set and everything like that. Otherwise, you're stuck there holding it, waiting for it to stiffen up or to cure so it'll hold on. or you have to use a different glue, or you have to drill a hole, or whatever you're doing, it just adds to the length of time that you're having to work on stuff. So here is the torso. So again, almost no divot there at all for the arms to hook into. There's a very, very small divot. Very small divot to kind of give you an idea where that joint is supposed to go, but it's definitely not enough. There should be something there. And it's even worse when you get down here to the legs. Now that hole that you're seeing there, that isn't actually where the joint goes. The joint actually goes right. Let me see if I can get it here. The joint actually goes up here in this area, and you can kind of see a small flat area. Well, gluing a ball, which is basically what the joint is, gluing a ball into a flat, small flat area is not a recipe for a good fitting model. It just doesn't fit together well. And if you're only putting together something for a review, if you're only putting together something that you're going to stick on a shelf and never use it on the table, well, that's one thing. But we use our miniatures, we touch them, we grab them, we move them around the table over and over again, and having weak joints isn't a good idea for the way that we play with our models. So we need our models to be sturdy, and these, if you don't drill out some joints, they're not going to be sturdy, in my opinion. So there's that. All right, so that's one of the fiddly parts about it. I think it's kind of weird to me that there's you see the group here. You'll notice that some of them are laying down. It feels kind of weird to me that 25% of the models that you put together do not actually have bases on the feet. So these come with these little plastic tabs already attached. Right, those are right there on the sprue. You can see them right here, right here, right here, right. For the one that you have to glue together, the torso that you're going to glue together, it doesn't have anything for the feet. So it's I don't know. It just struck me odd. It's almost not even a complaint because but it's more of like a, huh? Why do 75% of the models have these little oval plastic bases and 25% don't, because you have to glue those legs on, but there's no way to make the base. There's no way to make them consistent unless you, again, come up with your own stuff. Just felt kind of strange there that you would have so many models in there that are inconsistent as far as the way they stand up and everything. So for the number of options that you have, I think it's both a positive and a negative. I think it's nice that they throw a horn in there, so you have a musical instrument. I do find the idea of a wind instrument to be an interesting choice for something that doesn't have lips or cheeks or lungs. I don't know. Maybe a drum would have been better, but a horn definitely is an interesting choice, I guess. Let me see if I can switch to the sprue here. So you have some interesting choices on here. Let me see if I can show this to you a little bit better. So you have you have one with a sword, you have a bow, you have the horn, you have a couple arms that just kind of hang. You have several spears. You have what they call a pike, which I think could be used as a banner. You have this cow head or whatever it is here that you can put on the end of one of your spears or the pike to make a kind of a totem sort of thing. Got a nice selection of shields there. You have a quiver. You have the arms here, different arms. You have four heads that These heads over here all look identical to me, and they may have subtle differences, but to me they look identical. You have this head over here, which is the mouth, the one that has the mouth open, and then you have the helmeted head as well. So kind of an interesting mix of figures or options that you have there. Did I mention the bow? There's also a bow up here too. So you have that. I guess because it's only a single sprue, they had to. There are several things on there that maybe you're not going to use a lot of, and for me, what I'm finding is that it's the right arms. Like there's a preponderance of right arms on there compared to the number of left arms. I think as far as the left arms are concerned, you basically have to use every left arm there is. Every left arm that's on the sprue, you're going to have to use all of them if you're going to put, all the miniatures together. But the right arms, you have just a lot of extras. So, again, it's just kind of one of those annoying things that you have so many wasted parts. There, right? Because you're going to have how many horn blowers are you going to have in out of your 32 figures? How many horn blowers are you going to have? How many are you going to have with pikes? If you have them with pikes, you could have up to 8. So that is your limit right there, because that's you have 8 sprues in there. You have this guy. You have this right arm that is kind of cocked back in this weird angle here. It has no weapon in the hand. How many times is that going to be used? About the only combination that arm really works with is with the bow, and then it kind of looks like it's pulling back the bowstring. So that's kind of a waste. It's not a waste because you could use that frequently, and I'll probably use it with a lot of my archers. And then you have this right arm that's just hanging limp. And again, what combination are you going to use that with? What is if you have this in your right arm, then what are you using in your left arm? There's just, mostly it's empty arms. The only left-handed weapon there is the bow. So these two arms will only go with the bow, and there's only one bow per sprue. So again, you're going to end up having to use almost every single left arm I think that you have on the sprue, and you're going to end up with a bunch of right arms that are left over. And I guess my complaint is just that I have so many right arms left over, and they're completely useless right arms left over that I'm not going to use. And man, wouldn't it have been cool if they'd have just stuck an extra head on there, an extra skull? Because you can always use skulls. You can always use an extra skull, but there's just a bunch of right arms on here. So things like that, I think, were bits that would have been nice to kind of balance out a little bit, to think through just a little bit more as far as the combination of stuff. I think they're cool models. I think they're scaled well. I think, if you take the time to drill them out, then I think you're going to have pretty nice. I think one person that I talked to said that they could do without the torso that you had to glue the legs on. And again, it seems kind of pointless, because the only thing that you do, because of the position of the two legs, and they're both bent, you really don't have a lot of options that make sense. You pretty much have to go with a 1 foot back, 1 foot forward, which is exactly what all the other ones are doing, and they're already glued together. I'm not sure, maybe you could do more with them for skeletons that are on the ground or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's something that I'm missing there. So you guys let me know on this. I like Wargames Atlantic. So I don't want to come off like I'm bashing on them here. There have been a couple of their kits that I thought this could have been done better. And the giant spiders also were really fiddly and a pain in the butt to put together. These aren't too bad. These aren't as bad as the giant spiders were, but just be aware. I think they're cool models. I think if you go into it knowing that you're gonna have to put a little bit of extra work into it, it's a good kit to get because it's a good price point and you're gonna get a lot of cool stuff out of it. Just be ready to do a little bit of extra work, and that's it. You know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure and hit that like button, get subscribed to our little channel, hit that bell button, and all that sort of stuff. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.